Hello, BookTube. We are continuing with my disastrous 2024 library tour. We started here in the kitchen, and we're nowhere near done with the kitchen. We're not even close to the halfway point of the kitchen before we move on anywhere. But we're on bookcase number 2, and we have reached the summit. There are no more shelves. There is just snowy wasteland between here and the point at which we reach out our hand and touch the face of God. So the stacks of books are just climbing to the sky, and we're going to do the next stack of books today. But first, we have to move a few things that have crawled their way onto the shelves slowly. There's a turtle. Then there's another turtle. Then there's yet another turtle. And finally, another turtle. So now that they're all out of the way, let's deal with this next stack. Okay, so we have a mass market paperback of, it's got schmutz on it again. I don't know, I mentioned before, I don't know where the schmutz is coming from on these paperbacks. I don't know if they're getting it from each other, or they're getting it from the fact that this is the kitchen after all, and that food is cooked out here. This is Letter Mark by Patrick O'Brien in a mass market paperback. I don't always see those, so I grab them when I do. Same with this one, Treason's Harbor, which was in such rough shape I had to reinforce it. A little bit of a confusion there as to why I would grab these things. I mean, I don't see them very often. True, but I don't see copper wall sconces either, and if I saw 10 of those at the Brattle, I wouldn't buy them. I'm never going to use these, is, I guess, my point. I have hardcovers that I annotate, and I have ebooks that don't get schmutz on them. So I guess I grabbed them because of the novelty. Oh, okay. Then this next one is by Derek Bickerton. This is terrific. It's a terrific book. I guess maybe you would qualify it as science fiction, maybe not. It's right on the borderline, and it's well worth your time if you ever find a copy. This is King of the Sea. This is the mass market paperback. I had this once as a hardcover as well. It's a story of a man who goes native with dolphins. He goes native with a pod of dolphins. He doesn't just study them anymore. He lives with them. He decides to live with them in the open ocean and becomes eventually an enemy to the human race. And it's really, really good. I'm actually due for, this came out in the 1980s, I believe. 1979, and then a paperback in probably 81 or something like that. And it's been a long time since I reread it. I really need to do that. Okay, then we have Anthony Powell. And he did a series of novels, Dance to the Music of Time. He brought them out in a series of short novels. But they are typically collected into rough seasons, the 4 seasons, because it's a lot to have the little novels. And they follow a core cast of characters over years. Nothing really momentous happens. The books mainly follow their lives, and we accumulate a secondary cast of characters, of course, as time moves on. And characters change and marry and change in their careers and whatnot. And I think it's brilliant. Every time I revisit it, I think it's more brilliant than the last time I revisited it. There was a brief vogue. We saw on this channel the Brothers and Strangers series by C.P. Snow. There was a brief vogue of doing books like this. And I'm not sure. The problem with vogues, of course, is that the people who come after and join the vogue don't know why they're doing it. They're only doing it because it's a vogue. The trailblazer, though, that person tends to know why they're doing it. And that's always an interesting question to unearth. And I'm not sure that I've got to the heart of it with Dance to the Music of Time. But I love reading. I love reading the books. And this is, number 1, A Question of Upbringing, where you have our core cast of characters, 3 of our core cast of characters. There's Wilson in the middle there, looking very fetching. In their Edwardian upbringing, the idyllic Edwardian upbringing of a handful of them. Of course, one in particular, very famously, does not have that upbringing. And maybe for that reason turns out to be a standout character. Okay, now this is odd. All right, this is another one. This is Books Do Furnish a Room. Another book in the series, but you notice the publisher, wisely or otherwise, stopped putting the number on the cover. I always think that that's a wise decision. Because if you put Dance to the Music of Time and you put number 6, you're telling a whole bunch of readers not to buy the book because they haven't read 1 through 5. Whereas if your book is going to stand on its own, and these little books do stand on their own amazingly. They stand even better as a collection, but they stand well on their own. If you're going to do that, then you want every new reader in the world. If you're doing your job as an author, then you don't want to warn people away. So they stop doing that. And of course, you've heard this title. Like, for instance, C.P. Snow, his Brothers and Strangers books, the title of one of those books was The Corridors of Power. And that title has entered into the common parlance as a phrase. Many people have used the phrase "the corridors of power" without having any idea where it comes from. Same thing here. Books do furnish a room. People who say that all the time, they don't know where it comes from. So those are 2 individual books, and I love these little individual volumes. I wish I could find them all, but Dance to the Music of Time has been collected, like I mentioned, in 4 volumes, 4 big, thick volumes. There's one set that I think exists now in trade here in America, trade paperback, that are not particularly well made. They won't hold up well to a reading. But there are these little mass market paperbacks. Let's see if we can get them in order, because some of you are that kind of person. I don't want to bother you. This is number 1, Spring. And these mass market paperbacks have these gatefold covers where we just see the seasons change. This is Spring. And this has... let's see here. Well, it's going to start with the question of upbringing, which is the one that we saw. But this, what will this have in it? We might as well find out here. The question of upbringing, a buyer's market, and the acceptance world. Those are the ones in here. And then volume number 2 is Summer. You've got to get the cover there. Looking at the same patch of ground. These things, see, this is the problem with gatefold covers. This is already wanting to tear itself apart. I need to reinforce this. This has At Lady Molly's, Casanova's Chinese Restaurant, and The Kindly Ones. I once had Casanova's Chinese Restaurant in this format. Wish that I still did. Don't know why I got rid of it. Then we have Autumn with the illustration here. And this has... the illustrations fold out. I don't know if I'm making this clear. These are nightmare. Just a nightmare to have and to stock and restock on the shelf and all that. They're just a nightmare because they are ready to be destroyed. This one has The Valley of Bones, The Soldier's Art, and The Military Philosophers. And then finally, Winter. With that as the cover, and that folds out into a picture, a broader picture. Fold this back in, make sure not to destroy it. And this has Books Do Furnish a Room, Temporary Kings, and Hearing Secret Harmonies. So I do have the whole of Dance to the Music of Time in this set, which is good. Although I need to reinforce it. I don't think I have this set anywhere else. So I need to reinforce those in order to read them. And then we'll do the next 10 minutes on one particular kind of book, because there's a gigantic stack here of one particular kind of book, and they are Westerns. So if you don't like Westerns, A, your reading snobbery is not my problem, and B, you can stop watching now. But like I mentioned, we have a big BookTube event coming up, June on the Range. In June, we read Westerns, and I grab them as I go all year long, and tend not to read them. I broke that rule last week. I grabbed a Louis L'Amour and I did read it. But I grab them and I tend not to read them. I just put them on a pile and wait for June. And that's what I've done. So we'll just go through these quickly. There's King on the Range, a Max Brand novel. I should put all the authors together, but I haven't done that. There's Paradise Trail by William Byron Mowry. That Sax's about to get a belly full of lead. There's The Marshal of Deer Creek by Al Cody. Let's see here. There's McMaster's Mexican Standoff by Lee Morgan. He's not paying enough attention to his 6-shooter out there, perhaps forgivably. We have Frank O'Brien, Bugle and Spur, with this fantastic old Western cover art. that I've mentioned a number of times. I really like some of the covers here. Some of them are not good, but some of them are wonderful. Okay, here's E. Halloran. This is The Hostile Hills. Not particularly good there, but I think you get the point. The War Bonnet Pass by Logan Stewart. It will be my great pleasure to read these things. I won't care whether or not they fall apart. They've been around for 70 years, some of them, so they've had a good long life as a paperback. What a way to go, right? What a way to go, going out of your reading life being enjoyed in a boisterous communal event. We have 7/Range by Bennett Foster. Probably a good idea to be looking at them instead of not, but I guess you've got a cover to serve. We have Clarence Buddington Kellen, Sugarfoot. Hard knuckles in the Old West. I tell you, June on the Range is a lot of fun. If you haven't joined us, you should. What the? Oh no. Okay, this is in the wrong place. This is for Dr. November. This is Martha Albrand, The Linden Affair. Obviously a thriller of some kind. Here, let's set that aside. A thriller of some kind that I grabbed probably because, like everybody else that did, Dr. November is another BookTube event in November where we read spy and espionage fiction and nonfiction. Tons and tons of fun. Tons and tons of fun. I hope a lot more people join us this year. I hope I'm invited back as a guest host this year as well. I don't take that for granted at all, and if I'm not, I will still just cheer it on from the sidelines. But one thing that I think everybody noticed during Dr. November is that we were only talking about dudes. They were the main characters. They were almost always the authors. So, I mean, I'd read Helen McGinnis for Dr. November, but I want to read more. So I'm sure that's why I grabbed that. Okay. And then we have Phoebe Atwood Taylor. This is Banbury Bog. We've already seen this. We saw it as a crappy Soft Skull or Mysterious Press paperback. This is an older mass market paperback. This is an A.C. Mayo mystery set on Old Cape Cod. It belongs with the mysteries. It doesn't belong here. And I grabbed these older mass market paperbacks of Phoebe Atwood Taylor because the later white spine paperbacks don't hold up well. They're not well made. Okay, then we have Robert McLeod. This is The Mule Skinner. So that's a Western. That definitely belongs there. We have William McLeod Rain, Border Breed, where he is no doubt in danger because he's hiding up to his chin in water. But I have to think probably he needed that bath. The characters in these books usually do. Okay, then we have The Trailsman by John Sharp. This is number 176. This and McMaster's and Long Arm and all, they're just endless running Western novels. They definitely count for June on the Range. Anything with number 176 on the title also applies to Garb August. And I got this one because it's Curse of the Grizzly, where no grizzly is quite that big, but you get the point for the cover here. So, of course, I'm going to get something like that. Then we have Bullets for a Ranger by Bradford Scott. Another terrific cover. I've done a lot of these books. I've talked about a lot of these things on... is that more junk on the cover? Yes, it is. Oh, goodness. I've talked about a lot of these things for June on the Range, because I think last June on the Range I did a book a day. I'm not sure, but I will definitely do a book a day this year. Now then we have Steve Frazee, Pistol Man. Now is probably not the time to be loading your gun. Let's see here. Steve Frazee again, Too Many Rivers to Cross. So many rivers to cross that you couldn't put a shirt on. That's not a good idea. I guarantee you, I know that you're supposed to be concentrating on ferocious Mohawks or border rangers, but his real enemy there would be mosquitoes. Any of you who have ever been in this kind of country will know you will be eaten alive. With all the precautions in the world, you're still going to be eaten alive, but without him, with no shirt on. Then we have John and Margaret Harris. This is Chant of the Hawk. All these old Westerns that I've just piled on. The Third Rider by Barry Cord, where they're floating in the sky over the sea. I talked about that on this channel. There's Outlaw Doc by David King. Tiny little things. One of the allures of June on the Range is that the books are usually very short. We're going to get to a major exception, but the books are usually very short, so you can blaze right through them. Then we have Clarence Mulford. This is Tex. I think he got him. He's still shooting. I think he got him. We have Ernest Haycock's Prairie Guns. Let's see here. Oh, great. Okay, we have Louis L'Amour, Sackett's Land, which I read when Mark Richardson, I think Mark Richardson was doing a Louis L'Amour Sackett journey, and I read Sackett's Land, and then I wanted to find this mass market paperback with this particular cover. Really, really enjoyed Sackett's Land. I know to an outsider, especially when equipped with the aforementioned literary snobbery, you would think, well, what's the difference, right? What's the difference between not only any Sackett novel, but any Louis L'Amour novel and any other? But he really accesses something in his storytelling DNA with the Sackett novels. And I think Sackett's Land is a great example of that. Okay, then we have High, Wide, and Handsome by Kurt Brandon. He's got his hands full, doesn't he? He's got also all of his enemies directly behind him instead of in front of him. Then we have Doubtful Valley by George Garland. Once again, the wrong livery, the wrong headdresses on the Indians. It's a typical thing. You want to put a big ceremonial war dress on raiders out in the scrub who would not be wearing that, of course, because it would give away your opponent where you are. But that's okay. And then we have Willie McCrae Rain again. See, I really should put all the same authors together, just so I can get a visual of how much I have. This is called Clattering Hoofs. And it is, despite the fact that this is an old Signet paperback, this is definitely going to fall apart on me. Definitely. It's see that? It's peeling, and also you can see, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it out, but the text block, see that? The text block is poking off. It's not connected to the book really at all. So I might put that on the list to read for June on the Range, just to give it an honorable burial and just get it out of the way here. Okay, then we have Hal Everts, The Man from Yuma. It's a high-profile, high-drama cover. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. This cover doesn't make any sense. If your enemy is within gunfire range of you like that, within six-shooter range of you like that, you don't keep running. They can shoot your horse. They can shoot you in the back. You turn around and fight them, or turn around and surrender. But you don't keep riding. But I imagine the scene is explained in the book. We have Border Fever by C. William Harrison. I think I mentioned when I first showed you this book that I've had mornings like that. So, can't wait to see what explains it. We have Frank Gruber, Town Tamer, where he is well-dressed for the task at hand. We have, oh yes, right, we have Phil Ketchum, Harsh Reckoning. Quite the cover. Quite the cover. No guns blazing, no rattlesnakes, no horses, no town, no nothing. Just two men viciously grappling with each other. We have Steve Thurman, The Hungry Gun. And you see a lot of these mass market paperbacks, people considered them not only garbage reading, but literal trash, so they would just mark the covers with magic markers and whatnot. We have Richard Poole, West of Devil's Canyon. And see how tiny these things are. You can pop one of these things down a day. That's what I'm going to do. We have Max Brand again. This is One-Man Posse. Max Brand is not exactly Louis L'Amour, but he and Zane Grey are about as close as you get if you're not Louis L'Amour. So you'll see Max Brand reprinted in lots of different formats, lots of different cover art. Okay, William McLeod Rain. We've seen him before. I really need to put all these authors together. I wonder if I should do that now. I mean, when I'm done with this, I probably should, right? I probably should put them all together. Because this is bothering even me, so I can only imagine how it's bothering some of the Type A people who are watching this. This is OU Tex. And this is an old Bantam, an old pocket paperback. So, believe it or not, these things issued about the same time. This is going to hold up really well. This is never going to actually break apart. These old pocket books don't do that. They're just really well made. So, that's good to know. Then we have Day of the Gun by Richard Telfair, which is tiny, but it was really good. It was really, really good. I'm in June on the Range, the same as everybody else, including our esteemed founder. I'm in June on the Range for the fun of it. I think you have to be. Not quite as much. I mean, in it for the fun of it is much more prominent an element when it comes to Garb August. But I think you have to be in June on the Range for the fun of it, because most of the stuff was churned out at rapid fire pace when Westerns were ruling the roost. And if you had a typewriter and you wanted to make a living as a writer, you would write a Western, or 20 of them. So I go into it with that idea that this is just for fun, totally for fun, a true summer event. We've got some summer events that are just for fun. But I'm always happy when I find a book that's genuinely good. Day of the Gun was genuinely good. Then we have Law Rides the Range by Walt Coburn. How tired that horse is. Just tongue hanging out. We have John Daniels, The Crossing, with this terrific cover there. We have Tall in the West by Veckel Howard. We have a Louis L'Amour. Okay, this is the first fast draw with one particular cover artist there. We have another of a book in a series. This one is Gun number 25, Trail Tramp. Where they always look like this. They have these multiple things from the plot are taking place on the cover, and they're not going to be any good. But nevertheless, we hit a little vein of these. This is also a number. This is Renegade 18, Cavern of Doom by Ramsey Thorne. I will take the liberty to assume that Ramsey Thorne is a pen name. We have The Land Grabbers by Dan Stevens. He's just utterly desperate, firing off there. Okay, this is a little bit of a rarity. I only have one of these. It's not a rarity, of course. Thousands and thousands of these things were made. But I only have one of them. We saw Ace Doubles for science fiction. Do I have one that I can just grab really easily? No, of course not. Ace Doubles were, you get a book, you read it, and then you flip the book over and you read another book. But they did them for Westerns as well. I think they did them for mysteries also. And this is an Ace Double for Westerns. This is A Hanging at Whiskey Smith by Eric Allen, which was really good. And then you flip it over and you have Stranger and Rampart by Dan Stevens. This is in pretty rough shape. I don't know that it would take another read. We have A.B. Guthrie, The Way West. With this particular cover art, this particular style here that I love so much. Once upon a time, all these Bantams looked like this. They had nothing up here, just this at the bottom. They did this for classics of the Western canon. They did this for everything. And I wish that I could find... Bantam did a paperback just like this of The Big Sky by Guthrie that I wish I could find. Maybe I will before June on the Range. Let's see here. We have North to Montana by Stephen Lawrence. A bad cover, but you got to take the bad covers with the good. Oh, we have another Max Brand. This is The Long Chase. See, yet another cover illustration. Max Brand had many, many reprints. Not as many as Louis L'Amour, but plenty. We have Bitter Sage by Frank Gruber. We have The Bleeding Land by Giles Lutz. Where the cover fell off this thing and somebody taped it on. They probably taped it on 60 years ago. I will reinforce these things. I am not giving up on any of them, but I don't imagine that all of these things are going to live through June on the Range. And then finally, an exception to the rule of all these things being short. This is Louis L'Amour, but this is, I think, his longest Western. This is The Lonesome Gods, which is quite good, but it's 3 times the size of a normal Louis L'Amour novel. So there you go. Look at that. 20 minutes, and we did it. This is the next part of the summit. That was mostly Westerns, but also great 20th century English fiction, and also some turtles. So that is the next. We will keep going on from here. We will do the next part of the summit next time. So I'll wrap this up for now, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.